everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on stage 6. My name is Alexandra. I'll be your stage facilitator today. And to present the first challenge of the day is Michiel Sintony from Vattenfall. The challenge is, or what you're going to be doing today in the next 45 minutes is deep diving into how we could provide smart meter data autonomy for prosumers in order for everyone mandated to use the smart meter data to create new feedback loops and invent new business models. Michiel, take it away.
Well, I cannot represent that. Repeat that. Sorry. Welcome. Just give a little bit of a hint of what kind of people we have in the audience. Who participated in the first hackathon? Great. The second one? The third one? And who's going to participate in the fourth one? That's good. And have you already decided what kind of challenge you want? Is it our challenge? Who wants to participate in our challenge? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so almost full. So that's good. 5. Check. So we don't have to do the presentation anymore. We need 5 teams for this challenge. 5 teams. You can now enter your team on the website of odyssey.org. You get curated, and then hopefully you can enter the Doom of Odyssey and help us fix a slight problem that we have in our energy system. I work for Vattenfall. Who doesn't know Vattenfall? Nuon, exactly. Delta, Veenstra, more. Some companies in Germany. But we are one of the largest European northwestern European utility. I also see NOT and NG in the room, so that's really fun. Eneco, old Eneco. So we have a lot of people in the audience also from the energy world. As Vattenfall, we want to become fossil-free in one generation and help our customers becoming fossil-free. What we cannot do that alone. We need a digital infrastructure that supports the energy transition. And data in an infrastructure is essential. We need your help because we try to fix it and we can get it to a certain level. We want to exceed that level of quality. So that's why we bring in the best of the world together during the hackathon and to help the energy industry and the ecosystem that we built with 5 good working prototypes to solve the problem that we cannot solve ourselves. So what are the problems that we currently have in work challenges that we have in the Dutch ecosystem? So for example, we have a smart meter and the smart meter is sending every 15 minutes data into the data hub that is controlled by a grid company or a grid owner, grid operator, and then sends to EDSN. It's a Dutch energy data service provider. And after one day, if you own a house and you want to see what is happening in my house, after one day you can get access. That's not the ideal situation if you want to, do an energy transition, and if you want to change the behavior of the citizens, you need more real-time data. There is a solution. There's a different port, P1 port, that gives really granular data, but then you only reach 500,000 people in the Netherlands instead of the 7 million households that we want to reach. So what we think, and you can also find it in the big drawing from Jessica, is we want to have the data controlled by the data owner or the owner of the house, and via that control who's getting access to the data or doesn't get access to the data in a real-time manner or a near real-time manner. Also, we provide people with an energy report, every month energy report, and if your energy meter somehow fails to connect to the system, you cannot get the data out, and then we cannot send a report of your energy use, so we cannot advise you on how to participate in the energy transition. So those are 2 of the things that are not working well yet, but can improve with new technology. And this is, of course, the happy situation that we want to create. That someone is coming to repair your system immediately after it happens, instead of waiting 2 to 3 or maybe a year after the system is not communicating. We are partner for the 4th year right now. This is my 4th mission. We started in the big building in Groningen with 7 challenges. We moved to a bigger building or construction site, the Super Factory in Groningen. And last year we did 20 challenges in 29 countries, were represented in 100 teams. So it was enormous. What can you expect as a team if you participate? The first day, we bring a lot of knowledge to your table. So you can ask all kind of questions to set you at the direct or the right direction for your solution. You can validate it with your customers, you can validate it with the experts. Also the technology experts, but also the industry experts. And then in day 2, you will have moved from checking if you're in the right direction to building to first draft of your solution, where you also have a canvas, and then get rewarded with balloons, stickers, and whatever. And in day 3, you present your prototype to the jury, and the finalist will, or the winner will be announced in a big event. So this is my short introduction to what you can expect from the hackathon, from the fossil-free future track. If you have more questions, just send me one. Send me your questions. I have, well, 4 years almost experience of the hackathon, so I know what to expect from the hackathon. It is a life-changing event. It's something you never have seen before, so please join. I want to start with opening the panel. And I brought some really knowledgeable people, because I don't know a lot about smart meter energy data, but these are the people that really know a lot. Just introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ewout van der Beek. I work as a consultant for NEDU, and NEDU is an organization, a platform defining the exchange for energy data. And yeah, we are working like a kind of ecosystem with operators, energy suppliers, balance responsible parties, and we try to find good solutions for the exchange of energy data to be prepared for the things in the future. One of my roles is advising a steering committee for the smart meter. So that's why I'm involved here.
Yeah. My name is Wijntjan Brouwer. I'm also working for vattenfall, a colleague of Michiel, but then in another department. I'm with the Customer Solutions business unit in the Netherlands, working with business strategy and mainly focusing on strategy for example, smart meter data and what kind of policies or structure we need in the Netherlands. Because as Michiel said, we can't just do it by ourselves. We need to work together with DSO and with NEDU to digitize all the energy data and prepare for the energy transition.
Thank you. My name is Romy Dekker. I'm a researcher at Rathenau Institute. That is an institute located in The Hague. And we do research on the societal impact of technology, innovation and science. And within this institute I work at the Digital Societies team. And I do research on the digitalization of the energy system, in which we are now at the stage of how we can organize an accurate data governance that facilitates the energy transition.
Okay, thank you. Is this just the introduction or the 9-minute pitch?
Yeah.
9 seconds pitch. Good afternoon, my name is Peter Hermans. I'm working with grid operator Stedin, who are also serving this area. I'm working within Stedin already for 13 years now. in the energy sector. Before that at KPN, telecom background as well. I work with Instead on innovation and new types of projects, but also on strategy. But I also work on the sector level, so on national level, to lab together with the ministry and the regulator, RCM, Autoriteit. I'm heavily involved in many years in Europe. So once in a fortnight I'm in Brussels because the topic of data and data strategies and what is on regulation and platforms is really also a European topic. And I'm happy to tell you what I think could inspire you when you go into the hackathon.
Great. Thank you for introducing. I will first ask the first question to our panelists, and then the floor is yours to ask your questions that you have. Eva, what do you think, or why do you think energy and smart meter data is important for the people, the government, and the companies that are involved in the energy industry?
I think since Michiel asked you the question, who of you does use energy? And I saw all of your hands. I think energy is important for a lot of us, and people want to see if it's because of the environment or if it's because of their wallet, how much energy they use or didn't use. And I think it's important now to show that not only one of the few technicians think, oh, I'm really curious what my energy use is, but I think it's very important that a whole population is able to look at their energy data. And I think for now in the nowadays system, this works good. I think operators did a great job in the Netherlands by serving 75% of the households with a smart meter. And yesterday I had a conversation with my grandmother-in-law. She's 79 years old, and she uses this Oxio app.
Oh no.
She looks at it 6 times a day to look if her energy use changes. No, of course it didn't, but I keep my mouth shut. I say it's a really good thing that you do this. And then I thought, if this 79-year-old lady does this, then this is nowadays. In the future, it must be possible that people with, who of you have an electric car? Not so many yet, but I think for the future it will be really important to have data for flexibility uses, for supply driven demand, these kind of things. That's for the people and the energy transition, and I think also for governmental organizations such as in the Netherlands we have the Authority of Consumers and Markets. They want to make data available for businesses to compete, and they want to make data available for consumers to use the data for their better use. On the other hand, we have the Data Protection Authority, and sometimes it seems that the interests are a bit conflicted, since the Data Protection Authority, they want that data is being used, mandated according to regulations, and I think nowadays in the system it is working, but to do more things with the energy data, better regulation is needed, and therefore it's important for all of them.
Thank you. What is your opinion, Jan, about the energy data and the future of the energy transition?
To answer that question, maybe I was thinking, I didn't bring any slides, but maybe you can show the first slide with the current situation of how the smart meter infrastructure looks like. Just to give an impression that vattenfall, we have in the Netherlands about 2 million customers. And the big challenge is the energy transition and to help our customers to become fossil free. And when you see this slide, this is kind of the backbone, how the data reaches the customer. But with the energy transition, the landscape around it is changing. So you can imagine that there will be lots of windmills, solar panels, and that there are electrical cars parked in front of the house. And the big challenge is to fit it in. At the moment, a customer is paying, on his bill, he's paying for the kilowatt hour, and he's paying for the amount of kilowatt hour. I think in the future, the value of electricity is much more based on the availability. So with regard to energy transition, for example, if it is windy and it is sunny, the electricity might be for free. But maybe you want to charge your car at night. So there need to be solutions as storage. And as vattenfall, we see it as that we want to help the customer to have no hassle, that everything can be arranged, and to be able to balance that demand and supply from the energy company. You need the best digital infrastructure possible. And at the moment, it's working okay. But as Michiel said, there's a delay of 1 day before the data comes in. But it's windy at the moment, so it needs to be real time. So that's a challenge. And then also, as you mentioned, then there's the challenge that you need to think about the governance, because we want that the customer is in charge, but somebody needs to regulate that the customer is in charge, and how this infrastructure should be built, and who. I think there needs to be an independent governance, because data is very valuable, so you need to arrange that. And we need to find the right balance between privacy, as you mentioned, at the one hand, but also that there needs to be flexibility for the energy transition. So if you want to hide all the data and only care about privacy, then nothing is possible. But customers should be well informed why we're doing it, and that they approve it, so that privacy hopefully doesn't become a big issue. So all these challenges are, I think, incorporated in this hackathon, and hope you're joining.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool, because after this session we have the session of grid singularity with other energy players, and they're also looking into the future and how to balance the grid. And after that we have our R&D department that is also balancing the grid challenge. So you see a lot of challenges this year on the energy infrastructure. So that's pretty cool to see, and also that we are really building towards that future that is payable and inclusive. And about inclusivity, you can say a lot, right?
I want to start with the main goals of Dutch energy policy, and they're similar to the European ones. And that is that for our energy supply, we want to have it affordable, reliable, safe, and we also want to have it clean. Well, what you see with the Paris Agreement, that we want it really clean, which means that we're going to increase the amount of renewables in the energy mix, and they are intermittent, so there's a bigger challenge on matching supply and demand. But this also means that when looking at the potential of energy data, that you still want to preserve these values that we still want to achieve with our energy supply. So while thinking about what is the value of smart metadata, also think about, okay, so it should be affordable to everyone. It should still mean that the grid should be reliable and that it should be safe. And safe in this sense could mean that it's related to cybersecurity. But what we see with of the Raad Institute has done a lot of research on digitalization and the impact on society. And you see that a lot of public values are getting at stake. And that is not only privacy or security, but it is also about autonomy, justice, it is about equal power relations. And I want to also maybe give
forward to this challenge to also consider these kind of values that could be at stake while thinking about how do we want to build this new infrastructure for smart data.
Yeah. And it's good to mention, last year we had a JEDI, one of the experts, really focusing on the inclusivity of the solution. So not the winner takes all solution, but really looking into, is it inclusive, is it accessible for everybody? Peter, do you want to, yeah?
And then the first slide for us, please. Yeah, first a question, why is data important for the energy transition? Well, actually that's very simple. Everybody recognizes that today we have an energy system which is demand driven. If we want more energy, more lamps, then the coal plants or the traditional generation needs to work a little bit faster. Actually we're transforming towards a supply driven energy system. That means that if there's a lot of sun, as Jan said, well then the energy might be cheap, and if there's less, energy might be a little more expensive. When we keep that in mind and we see what's going on, then the traditional way how we run the system will be unaffordable. So that means that we have to steer on demand response, vraagsturing in the Dutch. And in order to interact with all the customers who have the demand, you need data. Otherwise you cannot run the system. So that's basically for the question. I put in 90 seconds three slides. I'm not going to talk every single line on that. You read it and get inspired by it. There's three basic takeaways what I say. First of all, there's a fundamental reflection required on what is happening on the grid edge. Only focusing on the smart meter itself is just a side of the solution. There's a lot of things more happening. There are sub-meters, charging poles, there are smart inverters. So the question is, how do we work with data which is coming out of the grid edge? That's the first one. Then the second one is there is a smart meter roadmap urgently required. I'll show you this one. Actually, we as grid operators, we implemented all the smart meters, and actually all the customers pay them in the tariffs. I think it cost more than €1 billion the last 7 years. And my biggest nightmare is that by 2022 or 2023, we go back to the ministry and say, well, maybe ask all the customers another €1 billion because we have to replace them all. Because there are new requirements coming on technology, 5G, new requirements from the market with real time, which I think are reasonable requirements, and also the legislation, GDPR of AVG is coming out, and those meters don't fit, so replace them all. So the challenge for us is, can we be smart and think about a roadmap where we can put with some add-on technology, leverage the existing investments so that keeps the cost for the customer low, while at the same time accommodating all the new requirements. And then we say, well, actually, what we think is, well, we had we have a dumb meter in 2000, and we said we need a smart meter, so we put software in it, and actually now we are on the reverse route. Well, we see, well, maybe we should make the meter dumb again, and actually don't call it a meter anymore, we call it an IoT sensor, and put on top of it a small edge computing platform which communicates with a cloud computing platform where you could do everything in it. So edge and cloud computing is very important. The issue here is, if somebody would come up with, well, I have a nice idea on such an edge computing device, don't come with a device which costs €1,000 because we have to put it on top of a smart meter of €60. And that was a big supply in the European market said, well, can you sell you some for €1,000? That doesn't work. Then the third other way around. The third element is the traditional way of thinking is, and that is also how regulation was set up, we have before the smart meter and after the smart meter. That the grid operators own the smart meter and run the grid and all the data which is coming out of there, and behind the smart meter, well, that's the public domain, and that's where the grid operator don't go in, and that is just data which goes to the market. The statement what I make here is that in the future, access to data and data sharing will actually become independent of who owns the infrastructure. And actually on that topic, we are working in the Netherlands together, we're in the same team, on what we call an afsprakenstelsel, a sharing of data schemes, etc. Actually, we stole some concepts from the financial sector. We said, well, in the future, data will be available everywhere, from sub-meters, from meters, from smart inverters, etc. And whether you get access is not defined by the infrastructure, because whether you are allowed and have consent legally or by the customer to get access to the data. And that's the third point I would like to give you away on this, and then thinking about what you're going to do in this hackathon.
Thank you
So,
for your explanation. Yeah, I'll keep the microphone here. Do we have a mic in? Yeah, great. What we try to do is set an example here in the Netherlands how the digital infrastructure could work for Europe. So we already have some arrangement made with my colleagues in Sweden that are responsible for the DSL part to also look into the solution that is, the prototypes that are built in the hackathon, and see if we can bring that also to Sweden, to their data hub that they are creating there. And we have some people from Germany, and they don't have a smart meter yet, but there is a big rollout coming. So this could also be set an example how to really design your infrastructure in a good way with a privacy by design solution. I want to open the room for questions. So is there anyone who wants to open the first question? And please tell your name and company and your question.
Hi, George Eigenaar, CPI. I have a question about the actual hackathon. Could you say something about the sandbox or systems that are available to us during the hackathon?
Yeah, so we have to prepare a lot of data. We have data sets from smart meters from the past years. They are also available. So if you enter our challenge, we have an extensive call in March, and there we are asking the teams what kind of data do you need, and then we can arrange the data that is needed. Because in the first hackathon we had a huge sandbox with a lot of data and nothing was used. So that was it was a hassle to get all the data. So now we move to asking the teams what kind of data do you need, and can we provide. So some teams want data from Sweden, so we get the smart energy data from Sweden, and some teams want to have like TSO data from Germany, for example. So those are the things that we come up with when you are allowed to come to the hackathon with your team, and we have a further discussion on what your needs are.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Farah from ABN AMRO Clearing, covering energy initiatives within innovation. I had a question for you. You did mention that at some point we might go into some sort of a pricing that gives us, when wind and solar is abundant, to zero pricing. But currently we have this day and night tariff with a very small delta. When do you think we will have such an exposure to spot pricing, and what will be the trigger moving forward?
Yeah. Just see if it's on. Yeah, it's on. From a legislative perspective, the European directive, electricity directive, I think it's describing that from 2021, I think on, that the larger energy companies should offer time of use pricing. From a market perspective, it's still a bit to be seen how the market develops. I think at the moment the spread is not that large, but that can develop, especially when there's more renewable energy coming into place.
May I add as well? Maybe a little bit of discussion. I visited Estonia in the eastern part of Europe. There it is already very common. So I question a little bit whether it's a regulatory obligation or whether it's the proposition from the market. Because today you could go already, I think, to dynamic pricing if the market parties want that. And I think there's also a misunderstanding that for dynamic pricing you need real-time data. Of course, if a market party or a supplier would say we go for dynamic pricing, and at least the pricing should be at 15-minute intervals, because we don't measure smaller intervals. But if I think a market party would communicate to the market through its websites its prices per quarter, then I think the customer could decide whether to go on that or not. Then there is an interesting challenge still to be solved. If there's a lot of energy available, because a lot of wind, a lot of sun, And the suppliers would say, well, we reduce the tariff, so we stimulate everybody to use the energy. And on the moment there is not storage yet there, because it's not a financial viable solution on the moment. That for the grid operators, then at the same time you know problem. So that is because then it gets a peak in the load on the grid, and then the capacity is not there. So that interaction challenge is still something which I think the regulator has to address. What is the fair deal?
Yeah, we're playing on 4 different chessboards with the frequency control and the congestion and the money flow. So there are a lot of different things working together or against each other in the energy system.
Maybe
Some people say, well, it's the most complex system a human has ever built.
Yeah, I think just to add one example, at the moment, I believe it's in Amsterdam, we're already offering smart charging, so that the price at night is cheaper than the price during daytime. And that might evolve further on to maybe in a few years' time 15 minutes pricing, but at the moment we are offering this.
Yeah. It's called flex power.
And is this creating already for you congestion on the grid?
Yeah.
Well, Amsterdam is a other area.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it's
I live in Amsterdam and it doesn't.
I think it's not the case.
yeah, it is. It's a coalition with Leander, with the municipality of Amsterdam, and vattenfall, and they are doing it with the world charging station. So steering the grid on congestion and tempering the charging station when there's congestion coming up. They will release the grid by not charging cars or.
This triggers a very interesting discussion which is emerging in Europe the next coming years, because today for a grid tariff everybody pays the same tariff independent where you live, and the discussions are going, should we make the grid tariff dependent on the load of the grid. So if you live in an area where the capacity is scarce and there's a lot of load, then you pay more for your grid as somewhere else. And the question is whether that is socially seen an acceptable solution, or it is a political question.
Yeah. But we already have it for the gas connection points already. Are there other questions? Yeah.
Etienne Join from NG. Is it okay? Okay. You mentioned smart meters as IoTs. Ultimately, there are a lot of IoTs that are perfectly capable of measuring consumption for a small price. What, in my mind, differentiates a smart meter from an IoT is the fact that you can invoice somebody on the basis of data measured by smart meters, and you cannot do it with a simple IoT. But technically, it seems similar. So, but there must be difference, of course, which makes the difference in price. So, my question is if in this challenge the participants will be enticed to think about IoTs beyond the meter systems that can connect to the main data infrastructure, or is the whole question only about smart meters?
Yeah, so this is a thing that we thought about. How can we scope the challenge a little bit that it's suitable for 84 hours development and not like solving the whole world of energy problems that we face. So this will be one of the pieces of the big puzzle that we have to make. And I'm really glad that like 30% of the challenges of this year is contained with the energy and the energy data infrastructure. So that's good. And there are several challenges solving several puzzles, and I think that after the hackathon, we have to team up and see if we can put the puzzle pieces together and to collaborate to solve that bigger issue that we have with energy transition and weather-dependent production. But this is purely focused on the P4 port in the Dutch and in the Swedish market. So yeah.
May I add something? Because I have to stick to the scope you just said. But so that is the assignment. But of course, it would be wise to think about, okay, if we within the scope do this, is this then expandable in a roadmap which goes beyond?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hello, Alex Powell from Kypher Metering, another expert in smart metering in Europe. I get the feeling that we say goodbye to the P1 interface a little bit too quickly. Could you elaborate why the penetration of P1 devices is so small in the Netherlands, where we see that also Sweden, Belgium adopted the P1 interface?
Maybe you should give the answer, because your comment was a little bit surprising for me as well. Because I see in the Netherlands the specification of the smart meter, every smart meter has a P1. So today there is a P1 in every household. The question is whether everybody uses the P1. But to my understanding, every smart meter is equipped with a P1 interface.
Yeah, so why not P1? If you look at the solutions that we already have in the Netherlands since the first rollout of the smart meter, there is a solution to get high frequency data connection with the dongle into your smart meter. And I'm not an expert, I'm just watching from the outside. We also built a device that was connected, like a gateway. Eneco also had built a device, Oxio built a device. So everybody's building devices that connect to the P1 port. And you see that people, well, the early adopters and innovators, they're using those kind of tools. But if you want to get not only 500,000 people, but everybody on board, you need to use the system that's currently available and currently connected to well, the backbone of the energy data system, and the system that is working and is, how do you say that, approved to bill on it or invoice on it. So that's why I choose to focus on the P4 port, because there are a lot of solutions in the P1 domain for this, but it's not working for everybody. So I wanted to create it inclusive and...
The real question is, why is it not working today? And why is the penetration so small?
I have no idea.
And could an inclusive P1 device also help to solve this problem?
Maybe.
The question, I think, but what I see, if you want to scale up the use of more real-time data, streaming data, and then at least it's about the costs, etc. And then well, there was a discussion a few years ago that the grid operator said, okay, let's socialize the cost. Well, we pay for the device. Well, at that time, so well, grid operators and commercial market parties, that's not your role. So stay out of it. But indeed, if the future, if market parties would say, okay, we don't want to bear the cost, let the grid operators pay the cost. That could be a route to scale up. And at the same time, it would also, from a customer perspective, create choice. Because today, a lot of solutions, as you mentioned, they're all proprietary solutions. And Eco has a tone, and Netogrid has something else, and everybody has dedicated stuff. And then, as a customer, you're stuck, because if you say, well, I switch to another supplier, well, this gear doesn't work anymore. And on the moment you have a standardized solution which is socialized to the cost, then when you have a cloud solution where all the data is coming available, then also the new startups could have access to the data, and not only the companies who have the big money to invest in the infrastructure.
And one of the really important things that we also try to solve with this challenge is the communication layer from the smart meter towards the database or the cloud solution that we already have. So unfortunately, or maybe lucky for us, the woman that drew the drawing had a problem with communication with her smart meter to the network, and was also during Odyssey Polaris in City Hall of the Hall of Nights, not City Hall, the Hall of Nights. There was a reporter from the Financial Times in the Netherlands that also had a smart meter problem. So he experienced, well, not this one, but this one. So he got all in and did a really deep dive into the problems, and called every stakeholder in the Netherlands that is having something to do with smart meter data. So we see this kind of problems, and it's a really small piece of the problem that we currently face, but it is needed to be solved. So it's not only like getting data from a smart meter and put it in a stack and run smart contracts on it, but how can we validate that the data is sent, and how can we say that it's connected? So it's more than just providing data or real-time data. It's really on the infrastructure layer. There are two more. Okay, so we need a drink afterwards because we only have 5 minutes left. What I can say is if you participate with a team and you're winning, then there will be a follow-up session, hopefully in May, with almost everybody who's has a how do you say that, beter? The changer. Yeah. So people who are willing to change for the greater good in the energy market. So we have a club called Club of Wageningen, based on the Club of Rome, but then on energy data and to make it inclusive. And the winning teams are invited to present their solution to that 120 people. So you are getting direct access to everybody in the industry, in the energy industry, to see your solution. So there's a good chance that you will get your solution will get out there and will be inspiring to change how we manage data. So we have time for 1 or 2 questions. So.
We can do like this. Yeah, I was wondering, because out of the individual user, as a smart meter, there are a lot of reasons to have their data or know what they're using or how they are built. I was wondering in this, and also for the hackathon, on which level is this individual user data interesting for the grid operators? Because I think these are so granular, so small, and they have their grid meters and meters in the neighborhoods who are helping them to keep everything running. So this data, how relevant is it?
Let me give a few things on that. First, if you talk about data from the smart meter is capable of providing a lot of data, not only usage data, which goes to the suppliers, there's also data, for example, on power quality. Especially that's very relevant for us because we are obliged to keep the power within control specification, 230 volts plus or minus 10%. And a lot of people feed in with solar panels, we might go out of it, and that might have a problem. On the other hand, on the users data, today the user data go to the market parties. They use that for billing, but the user data is also used for allocation, reconciliation, and settlement. That is the way how the market parties make use of it. And today that is done on profile data, and that means that the way how the financials are settled are not completely in the future, or maybe now already, corresponding to what actually happened. So there is a lot of the discussion in the sector that we say, well, this type of data is also needed for the settlement between suppliers who put what on the grid and who used what from we call it allocation to the zero. And for that purpose, the data is also relevant. And these are the discussions which we're having with the ministry and with the privacy regulator as well. Maybe you want to add something?
Final question?
Yes. Yes, I'm Ibe Kingma. I'm actually, I used to be on the board of a local energy corporation here in Delft, actually. So, the question is, suppose you could have and use all the data without any privacy concerns. Then it would be possible then to give financial incentives to the houses, the prosumers. To what extent do you think such financial incentives would actually help
So yeah, there was a pilot. I believe it was in Breda. I don't know. Is there someone involved in jouw energiemoment? So there was a pilot 2 years or 3 years ago about and they made the tax rate flexible, the grid connection or the grid tariffs flexible, and also the energy cost flexible. And there was a deviation from what was it, 0.1 cent until 50 cents per kilowatt hours based on the time. But I don't know the results of that challenge. Oh, thank you. So there are some pilots there, and you can check that. It's jouw energiemoment.
Peter, die wilde nog iets over de
Oh yeah. So more than coffee break.